Does somebody want to run the meeting till Seth gets here?
Sure. So we'll call the meeting in order officially, 10:01. Have forum, Michelle checked. Right off the bat, anyone have any announcements to get on the way quickly? Morning.
The lake affects snow at Lake Como.
Yep.
How about you?
Old business, we have minutes. Everyone have a chance to review the minutes? Questions,
Yep.
comments, corrections?
Yes.
Motion to approve the minutes?
So
I make a motion to approve the minutes. This is Anne.
Thanks, Ann.
Welcome.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and right before we get to Miss Emily Fell, you guys should have all received an email from Michelle at says request last meeting. Everyone turn in their reports. So you have those electronically. It's not, so we're not gonna go through them today. Instead, we will let Emily on with her presentation.
And I'll have additional reports. I got some after I sent that out, and I'll just send that to the whole list. There.
All right, Michelle, you wanna introduce Emily? I mean, I know we all see her virtually most months, but we can have you first.
So Emily Fell is with the New York State DEC Great Lakes Program in partnership with New York State Water Resources Institute, and she's going to talk about the Sterling Wolcott Integrated Watershed Action Plan, recommended actions for Cayuga County.
Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, Michelle, for having me and the opportunity to speak to you about this really interesting and cool pilot project that we did with DEC's Great Lakes Program. In partnership, we had consultants with Ramble, Ecologic, and others in DEC, other regional and local partners that contributed to this plan, watershed stakeholders that helped. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to present and discuss this plan today on this beautiful day where we may or may not have gotten a little snow depending on where we're coming from today. And I really appreciate the Soil and Water Conservation District for hosting and for the again for the opportunity to speak today. We previously had a kickoff meeting to present on the draft plan, the draft final report of the Sterling Wolcott Integrated Watershed Action Plan at the Sterling Nature Center this past July, and connected with lots of great stakeholders, landowners, partners that are interested in this plan. So excited to share some opportunities that are specific to Cayuga County, how you can connect, and some of what we've learned through some of the feedback that we've gotten as well, and interested in hearing some of your interests as well. So I'm hoping to be able to wrap this up in about half an hour today. So I have this agenda to share, lots of great information that we'll plan to have some interactive discussion and an opportunity to share comments using Slido. And this will be related to some of the interests. And we will kind of wrap up with some action items and next steps on how we're going to be finalizing the IWAP and how you can get involved in implementation. And this, got to credit Jim D'Angelo for this great photo from one of the wetlands over at the Sterling Nature Center there. And to help us all break the ice and understand each other and our connection with the Sterling Wolcott Creek watershed, what we care about, why this area resonates with us, I'd like to have an icebreaker and kind of go around the room and have everyone remind me who you are and where you're coming from, because as Carrie said, I'm often joining virtually. I don't have this opportunity to connect with everyone here, so that will be wonderful to have that reminder, and also any connection that you have with the Sterling Wolcott Creek's watershed, whether you enjoy spending time in the many beautiful places within this area, or you have an a work-related connection to the area, or, feel kind of a deep emotional connection to the area. So really interested in some of those connections and what you love about this Sterling Walcott Creek watershed. Start with Michelle.
Michelle Wunderlich, County Planning. I really enjoy going to Sterling Nature Center and walking the bluff area.
Thanks, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Evan Tuthill, also with county planning, work a lot with the solid waste management and recycling program. Similar to Michelle, I really like the Sterling Nature Center area. Just like the views, like birding there. I also just got engaged there. So that was nice. So.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story. What a wonderful connection.
That's what you were looking.
Yeah. Oh, really emotional connection to the place. Yeah, beautiful. Love that, Evan. Thank you.
Pat Williams, Lake Como. And Bill Patch with the Sterling Center. I think we were there last year with the club meeting. That's the only time I was there. It's very nice up there.
My name is Adam Upler. I direct the Owasco Lake Watershed Management Council. And I've enjoyed hiking at the nature center. But it's been a number of years.
Frank Clark, I'm with the CC Cayuga. Working water quality. Looks like a really nice place, so I'd like to keep it that way. I should probably go visit it soon.
Greg Raymond from Sunnyside Farms, representing Partners for Healthy Watershed. I've only been there once, plan on getting back up there. Beautiful.
Doug Kears, Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District. We've done a lot of work up there at the Nature Center over the years since I started, and then paddling on the river isn't a bad thing either.
Dan Welch with Cooperative Extension. It's one of the coolest things I got to do was be up at the Nature Center for the eclipse.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of neat to look at it over the lake.
That was an amazing place to see the eclipse.
I'm Phil Joy. I'm the Cayuga County Health Department and ELA, and just there for their going shiitake mushrooms program at Cornell Cooperative Extension. That was nice. It was a nice center. Only problem is they didn't have any electricity, but they said they applied for solar panels, but they didn't get permits. They did have a charging station in case they did have electricity.
Terry Twilger, Director for County Planning. Actually still working with the town of Sterling, Village of Fairhaven on their local waterfront revitalization program. And most of the waterfront area includes a good chunk of that watershed. And so we have a lot of projects and actions related to Sterling Creek, Sterling Valley Creek, Lake Gig Center.
Yeah, that's great. It's wonderful, that connection with the LWRP. So thank you. Thanks.
People online.
Oh, yeah. And the people online, would you like
I
to
can-
either unmute and share or share in the chat?
I can just go by their names and then we can. Ryan?
Hi, my name is Ryan Stachak. I work with Cornell Cooperative Extension. I think the watershed, the tie I have it with it is certainly the work relation with Sterling Nature Center. We just had a program up there recently, but looking at the entire watershed, the forest resources up there are just beautiful. That forest is really, it's really an opportunity for people to really connect with forestry, and I really value that.
Matt?
Hi, everybody. Matt Genscher. I work for Resource Environmental Solutions. I'm actually based in Western Pennsylvania. So I have not had a chance to get up to that area, although I've been up in Central New York. So for me, it looks like I need to go make some memories there.
Anne?
Yeah, I just want to say ditto to a lot that you've heard. It's a gem. It's great that it's being looked at and preserved. I've done a lot of birding up there, especially with migration. So it's nice that it's being kept in such a natural state.
Doug?
Just want to thank everybody for giving nice shout outs for the Sterling Nature Center and all the resources we have up there. It's a really fantastic facility. Dan must have been at a different eclipse party because the one I was at, we didn't see any eclipse, but that's pretty cool if he saw it. So that's great. I appreciate it. Thanks.
It got dark, Doug.
Patty?
So,
I can't, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
There you
It's absolutely beautiful up there, and we're very lucky in Cayuga County to have such a wonderful asset up there, and we appreciate and be able to go there and visit it. And thanks for everything you're doing to keep it nice.
That's everybody.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for sharing. It is wonderful to hear all of the ways that we are interconnected with these lands and waters, as well as with each other, and to hear about others and their love from others about their love of the area. I feel like this really helps us all develop a shared sense of place for the Sterling Wolcott Creek watershed and appreciation. And I feel like there'll be other opportunities to understand it better, the watershed that is, and other areas within the watershed to beyond Sterling Nature Center. Like shown here, this is the Little Sodas Bay from Fairhaven Beach State Park photo here. So lots of great places that, and lots of photos in this presentation to help you build that sense of place as well. And to provide some background on this Sterling Wolcott Creek's Integrated Watershed Action Plan, or IWAP, as I'll refer to the plan. DEC's Great Lakes program, we facilitate sub-basin work groups that meet biannually to discuss collaborative opportunities, provide progress updates, and share resources with partners, and promote what we call an ecosystem-based management approach to achieving shared goals under New York's Great Lakes Action Agenda, which was updated in 2023. And through our sub-basin work groups, we had previously discussed how we would like to demonstrate this EVM approach, which is a systems-based approach that strives to balance the needs of people, natures, and economies through informed decision-making. So to really demonstrate this EVM approach at a watershed scale, we identified these partner priority areas to sort of develop these plans. And one of the locations, the location that was selected as a priority area within the Southeast Subbasin area, which is this Lake Ontario tributaries as well as the Finger Lakes. But the priority area that we identified was Sterling and Wolcott Creeks up on the north, the shores of Lake Ontario. And Cattaraugus Creek was also identified as a priority as well, which is in the Lake Erie watershed, as you'll see on that map. So these two watersheds were selected for the IWAPs based on significant state and local interest and opportunities for this EBM approach to address challenges in these areas. And within the Sterling and Wolcott Creek watershed, a diversity of stakeholders and rights holders and others that were interested presented opportunities for engagement on local issues, land use and land cover, geological features and settlement patterns, and opportunities for work related to water quality, reducing invasives, fishing, flooding, and erosion. And so in advance of developing the IWAPs, we felt a need to bring in additional expertise and capacity to support the process. So we were able to bring on consultants with Ramble and Ecologic to help engage with us and apply a science-based approach in our planning as well. And so for a sense of place related to the watershed, the Sterling Wolcott watershed encompasses approximately 205 square miles along 19 miles of shoreline of Lake Ontario. This includes portions of Cayuga, Oswego, and Wayne counties. Shoreline features include coastal bluffs at Sterling Nature Center and Fairhaven Beach State Park. And there are also several coastal embayments and wetlands, including Sterling Pond, and other areas like the Lakeshore Marshes Complex, which mostly in Wayne County, but a little in Cayuga. And then we also have some other beautiful places like the village of Wolcott Falls. We have the village of Red Creek and Mill Pond. You'll see here a meeting with stakeholders that was held in 2019. Or maybe it was 2020 because I think there were masks involved.
Yeah, this is my back right there.
And so this was right at the pavilion at Sterling Nature Center, which this pavilion that you see in the corner isn't there anymore, but kind of gives you that sense of change too. And the watershed also spans traditional lands of the Onondaga and Cayuga Nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And so the IWAP for Sterling Wolcott applied this National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, Integrated Ecosystem Assessment Framework within this planning process. And this NOAA IEA process includes defining ecosystem-based management goals and targets, developing indicators that support these goals, completing an ecosystem and a risk assessment, evaluating management strategies, and identifying project recommendations, and then implementing management actions. So really we're at this inner circle, as you will, at this point. And we selected this framework due to the alignment with our EBN approach and the availability of successful case studies like Puget Sound and their vital signs program. And to kind of go back in time, this project was first initiated in 2019, and the first stakeholder meeting or project kickoff meeting was held in the fall of 2021. That was where we saw Michelle's back at the Sterling Nature Center. And we held a series of watershed stakeholder meetings throughout, the past from 2022 through 2024. And then we drafted an IWAP report, and we had a lot of support from Ramble and Ecologic with drafting this report. We can't say that enough. But we also did have this internal review process with lots of DEC programs and other state agencies as well. We had regional and central office programs like Division of Water, Fish and Wildlife, ecosystem health, lots of feedback. The Bureau of Floodplain Protection and Management and the Coastal Erosion Hazard Area programs. So we had a lot of review from various internal experts and reviews from outside stakeholders as well when we released the report over the summer of 2025. And we had this kickoff meeting on July 29th at Sterling Nature Center, and had really great attendance and participation. And so we ultimately posted the draft report on the website for public comment through 9/25/25. And now we are collecting all the feedback and integrating as aligned with the GLAA. And the Sterling Wolcott Creek IWAP development was supported by many partners that were engaged. This included the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, county planning, municipal leaders, bay associations, Sterling Water Stewards. We had county parks, Wayne County Sewer and Water Authority, SUNY Rockport, the Nature Conservancy, and there were others from the public that shared their local experiences and perspectives and that contributed to the development of the plan. We had advisory stakeholders who contributed data, such as the New York Natural Heritage Program, New York State Department of Agri-Markets, Cornell University, and as I said, DEC programs contributed data and reviewed reports. So we wanted to ensure we kind of accurately captured all of this input and all of the perspectives. We hope to continue to work with stakeholders and others interested to support our plan implementation and apply lessons learned to broader sub-basin work group efforts, and appreciated everyone's, patience and involvement as well in this process. So briefly, I will highlight the Sterling Walcott watershed goals that were identified by Sterling Walcott Creek watershed stakeholders. So we had these 7 goals, and to sum them up, they were for holistic coastal management, restoration and preservation of wetlands, enhancing functioning of floodplains, riparian corridors and streams to minimize flood impacts, and promoting healthy and connected forests, improving and maintaining water quality, promoting sustainable working lands, and inspiring heritage and sense of place. And we applied this ecosystem assessment framework that reviewed over 44 data sources in the watershed, and these were all related to ecosystem indicators that included human well-being and poverty reduction, ecosystem services, which included the provisioning of food and fiber, regulating climate, cultural uses, and supporting production. And we considered indirect and direct drivers of change, such as demographics and changes in land use. And these data sources were all reviewed and compiled to develop the ecosystem assessment and applied this Millennium Ecosystem Assessment approach that was launched by the United Nations in support of global sustainable development. And these ecosystem assessment indicators are all available as an appendix and also shared on a project story map that allows for interaction with the information that I'll share. So once we had the ecosystem assessment complete, we evaluated the risk of harm to natural resources and ecosystem services through a geographic analysis. And this evaluated risks that can arise from natural vulnerabilities, such as eroding soils, as well as human impacts, such as impervious surfaces and demographic change. I'll note that this risk assessment does not identify immediate hazards within the watershed the way that a hazard mitigation plan would. The intent is to evaluate how multiple geographic factors align to create conditions that may negatively affect ecosystem services. As I mentioned previously, a story map was created. This is kind of an interactive ArcGIS online experience, and this is a user-friendly tool that can help users learn about the IWAT background, understand the Sterling Walcott watershed, and evaluate the ecosystem assessment and risk assessment, as well as share ideas that were, and these were made available for review as a project recommendation map on the website as well. So if you haven't had a chance to interact with the story map, we can share that link as a follow-up. And before I move on to reviewing the recommended actions that are relevant to Cayuga County, does anybody have any questions about the IWAP background, the ecosystem assessment, the risk assessment, the project recommendations, anything like that? And I will highlight that this is not a regulatory plan. This was one of the clarifications that people asked us during the meetings, that this is intended to be a tool, a resource, a guide that supports voluntary actions and shares programs relevant to support goals as well. Yes.
2 questions. Watershed area makeup between forest land, farmland, water, that, and then also on the members of the group, were there a lot of community members, town boards, farming groups, more on the layperson side rather than all the different agencies that were involved?
Those are really great questions. I think I would have to check on the land use makeup to be exact. I want to say it was something like 30 to 40% forested, and maybe something like 20% agricultural. But again, I don't have those figures memorized. They are on the story map. You can easily pull up that information, and maybe we can look at that later too. And in terms of the lay person, the public people that were engaged, I think, we had some farmers that kind of shared, again, that they wanted to protect farmland, that they wanted, wanted clarification that we're not gonna, try, that nothing about this is gonna add to the regulatory environment, we got kind of, village, like kind of trustees and representatives that participated and shared some of the interest in protecting drinking water sources, especially in Sterling Creek, as the aquifer there is used for a drinking water source. I think off the top of my head, that's what I can think of in terms of the kinds of kind of public feedback we got. We did have some different like elected supervisors and such that we heard good things from, like the town of Conquest and the Headwaters included this plan in their comprehensive plan, which I thought was really neat to see. And then, yeah, I would say through the process, I think, Sterling, Fairhaven and Sterling had identified the interest in developing a drinking source water protection plan as well to kind of help with that Sterling aquifer protection. So again, yeah, the top of my head, if I give it more thought, I'd probably think of more comments that we got. But I'm sure it probably wasn't representative of all the interest, but I think I was reminded of a Leslie Knope quote that what I hear when you're yelling at me is that you care very loudly. So yeah, we had some good interest. I think some compassionate and people responding to us. So thanks for the question. Any other questions?
No, I'm just gonna say, I think you guys did a great job considering you started this as COVID was happening. So Michelle and I were in some of those stakeholder meetings and they were all virtual because that was the only option. And I think you had as good of turnout on those Zoom meetings as we could expect, given that it was COVID, but there was a lot of people I remember that were just local, regular, like I care about the watershed that were involved. In addition to the consultant team.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. And thank you for being involved in the process again.
Timing was good because I was doing my LWRPs. I was like,
Yeah.
here's the research I've done. Use it.
And I think we tried to kind of recognize that too, that there were other planning efforts to kind of draw from, and that this could kind of be supplemental to, and not kind of overarching or anything like that. That was the idea, recognizing all those other planning efforts as well. So yeah, thank you. So I want to share related to all of the goals. There was a narrative in the report. There's a narrative written to introduce all of the goals, the ecosystem and risk assessment findings, the trends, progress to date, kind of current activities and programs that are underway that are supporting those goals, like other planning efforts, other state plans and federal plans. And then, the Sterling Wolcott IWEP identifies 28 key findings based on the ecosystem assessment and risk assessment, and there are 76 recommended actions to address those findings. And for this meeting, and in the interest of time, I'm going to focus on the recommended actions that are most relevant to Cayuga County. And the key findings are kind of available as a reference, but I'm not going to go over all of those to kind of keep it a little bit shorter. And if there's any questions about the key findings that support the recommended actions, please let me know. I can pull them up if needed. So I wanted to share the recommended actions for the coastal goal, again, that are most relevant to Cayuga County. This included the conservation of areas of eroding shoreline that supply sediment and nourish downdrift beaches. These include McIntyre Bluffs, Fairhaven Beach State Park, and other adjacent bluffs. And there's a nice, great photo of McIntyre Bluffs there. Advancing the practice of nature-based shorelines and integrated or coordinated coastal management. I think opportunities like the regional dredge management initiative that was supported by READY and kind of continues to be supported, and ways to beneficially use dredge material kind of is included in that holistic coastal management kind of concept. creating educational materials and programs that educate on dynamics of coastal erosion and promote BMPs. And as I understand, there's a Southeast Lake Ontario sediment management study that is going on, and Ramble is working with Sterling Nature Center to do some outreach and education types of activities on those shoreline dynamics at Sterling Nature Center. So there's actions already underway. Developing models of hydrodynamic and sediment flux processes. Again, this is starting to be supported. We had a webinar, I think, in last year about the Southeast Lake Ontario shoreline coastal management study, and that work continues. And then other opportunities to consider local laws, policies, and funding to protect eroding areas and support landowner retreat where there is an interest in that retreat. Again, voluntary retreat as well. And that was specifically Little Sodas Bay and Cayuga County was one of the areas that was identified. Then we had these recommended actions for wetlands and highlight the key areas for restoration or construction of wetlands being Blind Sodas Creek, Sterling Nature Center. There's land use management and policies such as conservation overlays that can help protect the areas. There's studies that could be completed to look at coastal wetland dynamics. Current studies by SUNY Brockport, even looking at those kind of dynamics. And the New York State Open Space Conservation Plan did look at Westbury Bog Complex as a priority area for conservation and expansion. There are opportunities to protect and restore native aquatic and terrestrial species, especially at Fairhaven and Sterling Nature Center, and promoting stewardship, such as native pollinator plantings on private lands, basin sort of watershed wide as well. Some of the recommended actions for floodplains, riparian areas, and streams included protecting and expanding riparian buffers under the Open Space Conservation Plan in Sterling Creek, specifically promoting green infrastructure such as tree planting, rain gardens, and permeable pavements to improve stormwater management. This was identified as a priority for lower Sterling Creeks. Conducting dam removal studies that look at alternatives for improving dam safety, water quality, and habitat enhancement, such as fish passage, rehabilitation, decommissioning, or removal. And Red Creek was one of the dams identified. Promoting water conservation practices and education on increased water use efficiency. I feel like we're feeling that need right now during the drought that we've just recently had. And Sterling Creek was a priority for that. And studying water crossings to identify impaired habitat connectivity and flood resilience and evaluate connectivity opportunities. This was a priority for Boats Creek and Red Creek. And you'll see the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative assessments as a way to kind of help identify some of those needs and priorities. And for forests and uplands, we had a lot of connections with existing DEC programs like the Young Forest Initiative, the DEC Forest Owner Guidance on Private Lands, opportunities for mitigating forest pests like emerald ash borer, hemlock woolly adelgid, beech leaf disease by proactively replanting more resilient tree species. So other species that aren't going to be affected by these diseases. And encouraging more landowner participation in Regenerate New York, which is that cost share program for forest regeneration in particular, that also allows you to help manage against forest pests and deer browse, other risks. And then the NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Environmental Quality Incentive Program funding that's available that can help. And then we had developing educational materials on best management practices to prevent deer browsing in particular, because deer browsing was found to be a problem here in the watersheds. We had recommended actions for water quality that included looking at sources of pollution within impaired and areas impacted by harmful algal blooms, including Little Sodas Bay, and having increased monitoring and also evaluating some of the internal phosphorus loading and management and how effective that has been. looking to increase capacity for septic inspection and replacement programs that will help improve water quality, evaluating additional participation and encouraging participation in citizen science or participatory science, if you will, for water quality monitoring, such as harmful algal bloom reporting and the water assessments by volunteer evaluators program, promoting pollution prevention practices to industries and the public, continuing to implement total maximum daily loads for phosphorus, especially in Little Sodas Bay, where some additional actions would be beneficial. Implementing stormwater management and green infrastructure, always recommended watershed wide, and encouraging more enrollment in the drinking source water protection plan program. Some of the recommended actions for sustainable working lands included promoting agricultural soil health practices and initiatives. There's opportunities to work with American Farmland Trust. They have initiatives, or soil and water districts as well, who can help with things like cover crops. Continuing to expand on comprehensive nutrient management planning, especially for small farms. Increasing participation in the agricultural environmental management planning and implementation. We did find these counties are doing really well, but that always seems like a beneficial opportunity for farmers, leveraging tools such as the Cayuga County Agricultural Farmland Protection Plan that will help preserve prime farmland. Exploring pilot programs for improved grazing and paddock management practices within native grassland and pollinator species, such as rotational grazing and providing pollinator benefits that are going to help those crops. And promoting programs that incentivize and support riparian buffers on private agricultural lands, and research to better evaluate climate change impacts and mitigation on Lake Ontario buffering. And some of the recommended actions for heritage and sense of place included, some of the opportunities that we had identified in the Great Lakes Seaway Trail Corridor Management Plan, and including enhanced and expanded ecotourism, creating and strengthening linkages with adjacent recreational corridors, improving signage for amenities and points of access, and creating a Great Lakes ecology trail that links natural features, improving some of the north-south connectivity for cyclists, especially along the New York State Bike Route and the Erie Canal Trailway. There's some comprehensive planning that supports these types of recommendations, especially that Montezuma Wildlife Refuge to Lake Ontario and Eastern Wildway Corridor within the Sterling Creek headwaters could help support more connectivity for terrestrial habitats. And then Blue Way paddling trails, developing civic groups that can increase stewardship, continuing ecotourism, and integrating smart growth principles and resiliency considerations into local government comprehensive plans, local waterfront revitalization plans, and other land use planning. Does anybody have any questions about those recommended actions? And I wanted to share just some of the feedback that we got initially from our sort of Slido engagements. And this included some of the responses from Cayuga County Water Quality Management Agency to increase awareness of HABs reporting and provide training for IMAP invasives. We had helping advance, actions related to water quality, riparian and floodplain protection, and sustainable development, sustainable land use. And Atlantic States Legal Foundation, they've offered, working with the public and private property owners on some of the green infrastructure and tree planting and restoration opportunities. They've been working with the town of Butler. They've worked with the town of Walcott. So great, if you're interested in connecting. There's conducting studies of coastal wetland dynamics that are ongoing. SUNY Rockport, they're programming there. the Drinking Source Water Protection Plan. This was from DOH saying, you know, that they can help with updating groundwater modeling and identifying potential contaminant sources. There was an interest from Cornell Cooperative Extension of Cayuga, Schuyler, and Seneca counties to help with environmental and natural resource education. And the Sterling Nature Center offered to host educational programming, you know, as well. And it sounds like they're well on their way to doing lots of those things too. So I would invite you as well to join this survey and share your interests in any recommended actions that you would like to help advance, or open up for discussion if there are interests that you would like to share. Was there a recommended action that you saw that you just got really excited about? Like, man, I would really love to do that. Like, please, you know, let's partner on it. Let's hit the ground running.
I already set shops yard.
I was gonna say mine were the ones, the
Yeah.
first two of the other ones. I don't remember what I said I would do, their numbers, but
I think it's on here too. I thought the slide. I took off the names on the presentation to like preserve the anonymity, you know, but
what did Michelle say she was gonna do?
Michelle's like, I got it.
But yeah, please feel free to share your thoughts verbally or join the, you know, go into the Slido and share those thoughts. It's helpful if you include your name in the response, because then I can kind of follow up. I find Slido to be a way to kind of share lots of information very quickly. Yes.
Thanks for your presentation. So you had shared towards the end of your presentation some planned actions. I'm curious about if there's anything in store for measuring performance of the action.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. I guess I didn't super get into this, but I think, you know, I think there is this on the next slide. So our plan here is going to help facilitate this inner circle. And so the inner circle includes the implementation of management actions, the evaluation and of outcomes, and kind of monitoring of ecosystem indicators. And while I think we said we're not able to kind of commit to monitoring all of these ecosystem indicators, we saw a way within our existing kind of Great Lakes program efforts where we're working on the Subbasin Priority and Outcome Tracker that we've worked on with Lexi Davis and others at Water Resources Institute to develop. And this again is an experience, but you can look at the subbasin wide indicators related to goals of the GLAA. So I think that offers a useful framework that can help us evaluate, you know, kind of success in the Sterling Wolcott Creek watershed, as well as within the subbasin. And then, you know, kind of looking at other ongoing monitoring that's being done by SUNY Brockport within the coastal wetland monitoring. The DEC has our regular routine intensive basin studies that goes out into watersheds, and they do water quality monitoring and look at if conditions are improving, you know, and then there's kind of other statewide dashboards, things like IMAP and bases or a natural heritage program or others that, you know, can be useful in evaluating some of those outcomes related to these indicators. And then there's also opportunities for connection with our subbasin work groups, you know, to kind of share updates and lessons learned from the implementation of these plans. So that's how we envision this sort of moving forward, is kind of bringing in the subbasin work groups to support some of those long-term management needs, and then having kind of local champions involved to help support project implementation and monitoring and evaluation, and other research opportunities to help fill data gaps can be explored as well through partners and funding. And anybody have any questions about that long-term management? I think the next slide relates to some of the funding as well that we've identified. Yeah.
You thought about,
Yeah, this did come up in our public comments. And I think, you know, the plan offers kind of a good tool that can be useful as you're thinking about development in the watershed that could come from Micron, because while it's not in the watershed, it's adjacent to this watershed. So you're likely going to see more development in terms of housing and infrastructure and services, you know, to kind of yeah, meet the demand that potentially is coming from Micron, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think in that sense, this plan, the tools from the story map can be very useful as you're thinking about some of those development patterns and where, you know, where you really need protection, and then partnership opportunities to kind of support some of those needs, whether it's maybe working with land trusts or, you know, the farmland protection plans to try to, you know, conserve those prime farmland areas. I think that's some of the ways that can be helpful as you're thinking about decision making related to increased development in the area. But yeah, good question. I definitely went longer than I thought it was gonna, but it was really engaging, I think, with everybody's you know, thoughts and feedback. I'll mention all of the funding sources that are available and the new funding finder that's available from Bond Act that can identify lots of funding opportunities. There's the regular sort of CFA, Consolidated Funding Application programs that can support this implementation. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, Environmental Facilities Corporation has, Green Innovation Grants program, but they also have other water, sewer infrastructure related programs and the septic system replacement program. Right now, we do have a Water Resources Institute Research and Outreach RFP that is open. We're requesting proposals by 11/24, and that's really intended to help, so, you know, work with researchers to support decision making. Or, you know, we have different themes related to ecosystems and water literacy and I can remember all of them, infrastructure, and have aquatic ecosystems and resiliency is the other theme. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. Happy to share that as a follow-up too. And the Environmental Bond Act funding is available as well. So I think I did kind of talk about this, but some of the action items and next steps, we're going to be reviewing all the public comments that we have received. We're going to be integrating them as they are aligned with the GLAA and publishing the final report on the IWEP, on the DEC website. And we're going to work with partners to identify actions they would like to support and include these opportunities in the Southeast Subbasin Work Plan. And then we'll be regrouping during the spring 2026 GLAA work group meeting to kind of share progress and connect on opportunities. And I love to end with a quote, and I think this great one from Henry Ford on coming together is great to kind of end on, and that, you know, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success, and how we look forward to working together to implement these priority recommended actions and share success within the Southeast Subbasin Work Group. And any other questions or comments, feel free to reach out. I think Michelle can share this presentation too as a follow-up. I sent the PDF, so. Thank you.
Anybody online had any questions or anything? Also quiet. No's, okay. Last thing on our agenda then is new business, right, Michelle? Anybody have any new business since we're skipping reports and stuff electronically? No, nothing? Any final words of anything?
I think I saw a Wasco Lakes report and I thought that was really good. The success report that it was a Wasco Lake. I thought that was a really great report. A good model, I think, for watersheds to kind
Oh,
of
your
share.
9E?
Yeah, the 9-year report from the council.
Thanks.
Michelle. Just have a question for the group. It should be aware that there's a $4 million grants from DEC for invasive species treatment for lakes and stuff. I'm wondering if anybody at the agencies or other lakes in the area are doing any applications for the funding for next year.
I did,
Heard.
I did some research, for 9 Mile Creek Sterling Nature Center. And I couldn't get the scores high enough to continue the application. And I also looked at Cayuga Lake, the hydrilla, but the cost was way too high.
Because I was thinking, well, we've been talking to a couple people and like Como about possibly applying, but we can't because we're not a 501c3 group. And so I'm going to be talking to our town board in Summer Hill next week to see if they can be lead agency. But I'm not, this is what I've read. I'm not sure what we can do to get in that, get into anything.
Yeah, I think the issue with treatment, like lake treatment for aquatic invasive species, is they're looking for new infestations. It's more of a rapid response.
Not like existing stuff.
I think anything, I was talking to Sam, like anything 2 or 3 years older, wasn't as competitive as like just all of a sudden, it's something
So
new.
like say if we said we got water chestnuts, they might consider something like that.
Right.
Because we've got existing stuff that's been there for years.
But you do have a plan, so it might work, but.
And if I think the deadline was like December 17th or something like that for the bids to be put in. If they don't get all the money, accounted for, will it be repeated again in like in 2026? Or will they be offering more, open it up again? Because, our position is we don't have any money right now and we'd have to look for Summer Hill to be, if you got the grants, you got to put 25% up.
Yeah.
And I think they would front the money for us because we're looking at doing a tax district. And I've still got some questions before we start the petitioning process, but we're looking towards 27 before we put that in place. So I'm just wondering if there's any, rather than trying to kill ourselves to get something done now, waiting until the spring, we have a little better idea what direction we're heading. If there's going to be more opportunities for applying for some of this grant money, or it'll be all gone by December. Do you have any feeling?
I think they're going to spend the $4 million that they have, and then they might open it up next year.
Next year they might open it up.
But they've had, it's not like it's the first time they've offered this grant.
Yeah. So that there is an opportunity, it might be coming up again.
I can't guarantee it.
No, but there may be, some future opportunities. I don't know if we can get our act together to do it by December.
Yeah.
I've got a girl that's willing to help, but I don't know if we think we can do it. It sounds like you've tried to do some for some of the other places and that.
I was looking at the number. There's a point system and you have to get 60 points to even apply.
Okay.
And it was either there's like no public access or there was no set plan or the match was way too high. Like for the hydrilla, the 25% match.
Okay.
So I look at the point system to see if you can get to at least 60 to start.
That's helpful. Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
If not, Doug?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody online.
You.
You're gonna send out all the